Oh hey, this is Trav. Here I am at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science to drop off a ferruginous hawk that was hit and killed on the road. Now these birds are protected by the Migratory Bird Treaty Act, but I got permission from my local wildlife agency to be able to drop this bird off today. When you take a specimen like this to the museum, whether it be a bird, a mammal, a reptile, insects, what they ask for is just to be able to include the information from where you picked that animal up. A GPS location of where it was killed, your name as the collector, as well as the date and the county and the city or town if applicable. You guys have got a beautiful immature ferruginous hawk here today.
Yes.
Got caught up in a fence, damaged its wing. The hawk did not make it, but rather than just leaving the hawk out in the field or disposing of it, it's going to be now preserved, correct, as a specimen?
So we have salvage permits for birds throughout the state of Colorado, and this bird will go into the ornithology collection, and it'll be preserved as a study skin, a skeleton. We'll also take genetic samples or store frozen tissues for genetic work and also for hormone work and some other things. And we will also check it for any ecto and endoparasites, and those will also be preserved as part of the specimen. And it'll be entered into our database, and anyone around the world can access that database, find out that we have a beautiful immature ferruginous, so from Colorado, if they're interested in studying it. So
one of the things that makes this a almost invaluable scientific specimen is when you write down where it's from and when it's from. This data then gets coupled with all the specimens that we create and preserve. That goes into the database, and now people will know the occurrence of this species, of this particular specimen, at a certain place at a certain time, and all the collections that we have you can relate back to that place and time, so you can actually track or trace populations of different species by where they are, where they were, and where they when they were.
Now, that's fantastic. And now universities, other museums, correct? They reach out or ask sometimes.
So we are willing to share the data from the specimen with anyone who studies birds. So they don't have to be affiliated with another museum. They don't have to be affiliated with a university.
Oh, interesting.
So wildlife biologists associated with various government organizations are also interested in the data. So, educators as well.
Cool.
Our collection is also open to artists. We have many artists that come in, and they will sculpt, they will paint, they will draw specimens that we have as well, and that contributes oftentimes not just to art that's going to be sold, but also to art for guidebooks, for example, on how to better ID birds in the field.
Field guides.
Yes.
Wonderful. Now you guys also, Jeff, accept, insects, mammals.
Basically, most biological material from anywhere from Colorado, except fish. We don't have a fish collection, so we accept reptiles and amphibians, we accept mammals, and we accept birds if they're found dead in the wild. And we do have permits for all of those as well. National parks is a whole other thing. You don't collect anything on a national park.
Yeah,
It has to be legally collected.
Yes.
Yes.
So they have their own permitting system and other things. So you need to make sure that you do have the proper permits in place to salvage these types of specimens.
Very important. Thanks.
One other aspect about the use of this is the information about this bird goes on our electronic database, and then it goes worldwide. It's accessible by anybody who can get on the internet. And we get requests from literally all over the world for information, sometimes requests for more detailed samples to use for other researchers who want to look at what they can discover inside a feather, or what they can discover inside a tissue sample from the heart or the liver or the kidney. Genetics, hormones,
And
you are what
stable
you eat,
isotopes.
and it's
Wow.
reflected in the carbon isotopes in your body. So all of those are available to anybody, any researcher who has a protocol that will meet our standards anywhere in the world.
That is amazing. Now the next step for this bird, I understand it gets frozen, correct? Is it 80 degrees below
So
zero?
the first thing that'll happen is the bird will go into a freezer that's an accession freezer, and that's just a standard upright freezer. They don't spend that much time in there.
Okay.
And it will be entered into our accessions and into our database. And once that happens, it will go into a larger, colder freezer, and then it'll be in the pipeline for preparation.
It goes in a queue. And we have a lot of birds in the queue right now, but it kind of depends on research projects at the time.
Yeah.
If our curator says, we're going to take all of the ferruginous hawks out of our freezer and get them all done, then we do it.
Yes.
We have sometimes requests. We had a request for an urban ecologist or somebody who was studying urban red foxes. So we had to go back into our freezer and pull out all the red foxes and get them done in about a couple days, just to be able to send them some information.
And I guarantee you, though, if one of our preparators knows that we have a beautiful specimen like this, they'll want it pretty quickly. So.
Yeah.
So Jeff, when a specimen is brought in, whatever it may be, it's preserved, correct?
Yep.
How long for, what time are we talking here?
We're talking millennia. The term that we use is in perpetuity, but to give that a more concrete, in perpetuity is forever, but a more concrete, I say 3,000 years minimum. Okay.
So it really behooves you to preserve a specimen, bring it here to the museum in your collection.
And the reason for that is no one knows the questions that will be asked 20 years from now. There are people that aren't born yet that will have questions about these things, and if we have the specimens, they'll be able to ask those questions and answer them. We don't even know what those questions will be.
Well, you, for example, told me about some of the extinct species you have in collection that at the time they weren't extinct. No one would have thought anything more about that. Now today, those are priceless, correct?
Absolutely. They're all kind of priceless in our minds, but if you can't get any more, they're, I don't know, can you have priceless plus?
Gotcha. Thank you so much, Jeff. Appreciate it.